Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Diablo series here on my channel. My name is ChaosMoles and today we want to finally take a look at what went wrong with Diablo 3. And I know that some people might now say, oh wow, we will be here for a while, huh? Well, hopefully not too long. And fun fact, some other people will now say, what do you mean what went wrong with Diablo 3? Diablo 3 is a perfectly fine game right now and it is really fun to play. And you know what? I agree with you. I'm playing the new season with a second character in the background right now. I totally agree with you that Diablo 3 is now a fine game. The problem is, Diablo 3 was everything but a fine game till Reaper of Souls. The expansion came out and that also got a few patches. So, what went wrong with Diablo 3 is the big question then. I know that some people will immediately point at the graphics, right? The graphics were like a big vocal point for the community when they first showed it, and a lot of people didn't like it because it moved away from this totally grim, gore, dark fantasy experience Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 had. And I see what Blizzard did here. They took some inspiration from like stained glass for pictures from churches, or they took inspiration from like the Renaissance pictures with the colorization and all that. And to be honest, I would be totally okay with that. I can overlook graphics if the gameplay is just point on. Like, I have been playing games in my past which were not looking too great, like Terraria. Not really the most graphical impressive game, but gameplay-wise, absolutely amazing. Or right now I'm playing a game called Return to Monkey Island. Graphics are like debatable. Not everyone will like the graphics. I think they look, by the way, fine in movement. But I can totally see where some people like it and why some people say, no, I cannot look at it. But here's the thing. That game is also absolutely amazing, and I can overlook the graphics. And the same goes with Diablo 3. I always was in the belief that as long as the gameplay is fine, I don't really care how the game will look like, right? And that's the problem. The gameplay was not fine. The gameplay was a complete disaster. So what we want to look at is the real money auction house, itemization, and endgame. Those were the three things which went completely out of control when the game released, and they were also kind of intertwined. So when one of those things didn't work properly, it would just drag down everything into the abyss with it. And so the first thing I want to look at is the real money auction house, aka pay to win. Wait, auction house? Real money auction house? That doesn't exist. No, it doesn't exist anymore, thankfully, because it was removed with a patch pretty close to Reaper of Souls. I think it was like the pre-expansion patch where they completely removed the auction house and also completely redid the item economy and so on and so forth. But we have to look at the real money auction house. So what happened? Well, Blizzard announced that Diablo 3 will have an auction house, and people were like, yay, I don't have to do like the trading in chat anymore. Oh my god, this will be so amazing. Unfortunately, the auction house they offered were only with gold. You couldn't really like put an item in and ask for another item in return, and that would lead to a lot of like gold farmers just overwhelming the auction house, and gold became a problem. Like there was its own issue. But then they did something crazy. They also announced that there will be a real money auction house. That means people can buy or sell their items for real money. And some people actually defended this by saying, well, it's not really pay to win, you know, because it's not Blizzard selling you the item. It's the player who is doing it, and Blizzard is only getting its cut. I think it was 20 or 30% Blizzard got with every item sold. And of course, that's completely ridiculous. That's like going in a casino, going at a slot machine, and then you are losing all your money and saying, you know what? It wasn't the casino which took all my money, it was the slot machine. It's like, no, you can bet your ass that the casino rigged the slot machine to a pretty big extent to get all the money out of you, right? And that's the same thing they did in Diablo 3. A lot of the systems in place were designed to push you into the real money auction house, or in the auction house at least, to get your stuff there. Because keep in mind, Diablo 3 at the beginning functioned very different. It was more designed as an MMO when it came to like the leveling phase and when it came to progression phase, also to hide that there was basically no endgame, but we will talk about that a little bit later. And so all in all, if you wanted to progress in the game, in the end, you would have to go into the auction house to get the items you need. And that was a complete disaster, especially because itemization, which is the next topic, was an absolute shit show. Like, finding the right items for your character was nearly impossible, because unfortunately Blizzard had decided that everything is completely random on the items. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. So you could play a mage, right? And you would find a two-handed barbarian axe only a barbarian can wear with intelligence on it. I was like, what? Why would a barbarian, why is, what? And the same goes the other way around. Like, even as a barbarian, you could find a two-handed axe, which would be perfect for you, and then it had int on it. I was like, oh, great. That doesn't really help me. And another big problem was that stats were king. So, when you're playing Diablo right now, legendaries or uniques, right, and set items are the most important pieces for your build. They were the most important pieces, and back in Diablo 3, that was not really the case. The most important pieces were stats. Stats were king. You wanted to get as many strength, intelligence, and so on and so forth for your specific character you were playing. Because the problem was that a lot of the uniques, the abilities were pretty shit. They were not as amazing as they are right now. Like, they have been just pretty meh. There was all the same goes with the set items. A lot of the set items were pretty meh, all things considered. And the next problem was, because they had like special unique abilities attached to them, as they have right now, they lowered the stats. So finding a set item with the right stats, with the right amount of stats, and also what you need for your character, would take you weeks and months of intensively playing, or, well, going into the auction house and into the real money auction house to buy your item there. It was a complete like disaster when it just came to equip your character with the right items you needed. Right? It was not a breeze, and it was pretty bad. It really became clear how bad it was when Blizzard released the pre-patch for Reaper of Souls and had multiple pages long patch notes to completely overhaul the item economy, right? Like, I'm still getting PTSD just thinking about that. It was bad, right? And that brings us to the next part, which is the end game. And let's be honest here, the end game and the farming of items didn't really exist, you could say. Like, there wasn't a clear path of end game in the game as we have it now with the greater rifts, with the adventure mode and all that. Like, that didn't exist. None of it existed. The only thing you had was basically killing some of the end of the act bosses and try to farm some items. But even that was not how people at the beginning farmed their items. You know what the best way in endgame was to get your items? You would create a second character, right? You have your main character and a second character. You would rank the second character up quickly to get into the last difficulty. And then you would go into Act 1, and there was the quest where you have to kill the wife of the blacksmith, right? It's right in the city. And what people did is they did this quest over and over again. They would follow the smith, they would kill the wife, and she was a special unique, so she had the same item drop chance like an end of an act boss, right? She had the same item drop chance like Diablo had. But the thing is, you could kill her in seconds. So what people did is kill her in seconds, get the items, log out, do not finish the quest, just logging out, logging in again, rinse and repeat. So the whole thing would take you 2 minutes at best, and you would do it over and over and over and over again. That was your end game farming, so that you hopefully find the items your main character needed. It was horrible, and it took actually Blizzard quite some time to fix it. So they fixed it, right? And then people just moved on to kill Asmodan in Act 3 over and over again to get the items, because that was the fastest way to do it, right? And all those three things accumulated together just made it so that it wasn't fun. You know, you have an action RPG, and it didn't really feel like an action RPG. It felt more like World of Warcraft. I think a lot of the things Blizzard did in Diablo 3 was closer to what they had in World of Warcraft. And they really didn't want it to be compared to Diablo 1 or to Diablo 2 because, well, as you know, if you have seen the previous episode, that was made by a different developer. And it seems like that Diablo 3 was Blizzard's we try our own thing and we will make it as different as possible so that we can just like prove to people that we can make our own Diablo. And they were completely ignoring just a few things which make totally sense, right? They changed a lot of systems where you asked yourself, well, if it works, why fix it, right? There were some other smaller issues like monster density. Believe it or not, the monster density in Diablo 3 at the beginning was horrendous. You normally would fight 2 to 4 monsters at maximum most of the time. And even if you would try to pull the full map, there wasn't a lot of monsters there. Like, it felt super weird. The leveling could take weeks. Like, it played more like World of Warcraft than it actually felt like a Diablo game. And there was no end game. Itemization, as I said, was horrible. It didn't really feel like a level of accomplishment being there. And then, of course, the real money auction house put the whole idea of a game where you are farming items ad absurdum. Right? Like, it's an action RPG. Why would you have an auction house where people literally can buy all the items with real money? Because, well, Blizzard would get a cut of it. And again, they definitely changed the drop rate and all that for those items to push people into that direction. It became very clear when you read the patch notes, which removed the auction house. But there was too much. There was just too much for a lot of people. And there was also another problem, because just a little bit after Diablo 3 came out, Path of Exile came out. And a lot of people just moved over. And this is why Path of Exile is now the king of action RPGs. Like, Diablo 3 fumbled so hard that nowadays people don't ask if this is like Diablo anymore. Whenever there's a new action RPG out, people ask the question, is this like Path of Exile? Because Path of Exile took over. And I really hope for Diablo 4 that Blizzard did draw their lessons from Diablo 3. And again, if you're playing the game right now, I would say they did, because they already made some good changes over the years to the game and totally acknowledged their missteps. So that's a positive note. But I'm hoping they have learned from this for Diablo 4. And speaking of Diablo 4, in the next episode of our series, we will talk about the things I wish to see in Diablo 4 and the things which worked in Diablo 3, and we hopefully will see them again in Diablo 4. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like. Also, if you're new to the channel, I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe to the channel. There will be more Diablo 4, 3 content in the future, like next week we have the new episode. Also doing reaction videos here on the channel, guides, and we have live streams from Monday to Friday starting at 8 a.m. East Coast time, that is 1 p.m. UK time, and 2 p.m. Central European time here on my YouTube channel. And we are playing like all the newest games. I think Grounded is coming up. We are still playing some Monkey Island and some other fun games very soon. And of course Diablo 4 then, when we can finally stream it. Yeah. So yeah, if you enjoy all of that, I would appreciate if you might subscribe. We're also super close to 2,000 subscribers here on the channel, so I would definitely appreciate it. And till then, I hope I see you next week for the next Diablo episode, or maybe even in one of my live streams. Stop by to say hi. We are a helpful and respectful community, very chill, very lean back. And with that said, stay safe, and I hope I see you next time. Bye bye.